It was legitimately a sad moment that I thought that the intellectual giant that this person is supposed to be, the debate lord of the liberal side, basically went and had a double suck session with Ben Shapiro. That was, in my opinion, one of the most disappointing things I have seen this person do.
So this started with Destiny talking to Omar Baddar. I'm not very familiar with Omar's work, but he seems really, really based. I'm not sure if you know anything about this guy, Zach, or if you saw this conversation between him and Destiny, but I figure we can take a look at a few minutes of this before we get into Hasan's response, because this was beautiful. This was beautifully done on the part of Omar Baddar. He completely exposes Destiny's ignorance about Israel and Palestine in a way that is almost unparalleled to anything I've ever seen. Destiny's usually really good at debating, even when he's wrong, even when he knows he's wrong. He usually does a pretty good job of kind of holding it down and still coming off as the more intelligent debater. I don't think you can say that about this exchange. So let's take a look at a few minutes of this before we get into Hasan's reaction to this absolute destruction.
Insofar as international law goes, it's kind of pointless. I mean, they're nice arguments and we can use them, I guess, if we feel like they're bolstering something, but they don't really address any of the issues on the ground and they don't really get us any closer to an actual peace process. I think even you would agree that screaming at Israel over and over again, hey, there are some people that think that what you're doing is illegal, doesn't really get us anywhere. It's not.
No. I think when one country steals land from another people against international law and is ethnically cleansing them in slow motion, pushing them out of their homes, driving them out of their homes to the condemnation of every human rights organization in the world, I think screaming at them about that is the right thing to do. And it comes down to the governments that are supplying and enabling that. The United States government should not be sending weapons to a country that is engaging in human rights violations and land theft on this scale. That's the fundamental reality. Look,
when we say, okay, so we can go into this as deeply as you want to. I'd love to. When we say steal.
Also, it's important for everyone to remember, in case you're not familiar with Destiny's commentary, that he was one of the biggest defenders of Ukraine, one of the biggest pro-Ukraine commentators, advocating at every turn that we send them more money and increase our defense efforts in regard to that conflict. So he's not like he's just some isolationist or something.
Steals land from another people. When we say Israel steals land from another people, what does that mean?
It means Palestinians have Israeli soldiers. I can send you videos if you have not seen them.
Okay.
Who knock on their doors in a place like occupied East Jerusalem, which again,
imagine having to explain that too to someone like Destiny who claims to be so educated. He's like, "What do you mean they're stealing land from who?"
Literally, I mean, even us, right? I admit it was 10-7 that really, was the catalyst for me to do a deep dive in what was going on in Israel, Palestine. I'd known a little bit here and there, listened to lefty podcasts, seen interviews with people. I knew it was a bad situation, but I did not know how bad. I did not know the scale. I did not know the ins and outs. I still don't. I'm not like an expert, obviously, but even we knew about the forcing people out of their homes at gunpoint. Even we had seen videos of, what he's talking about, this was under the Trump administration and then early into the the Freudian slip, the Biden administration. There were tons of videos coming out. There were tons of global protests. There was massive unrest because it was the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood particularly got a lot of buzz. That was when Vosh did his massive fundraiser that David Pakman then likened to fundraising for terrorists. After that, no comments were made about the terrorists who were forcing these people out of their homes and stealing their homes. But yeah, Destiny also said that he made lots of jokes about like being pro the genocide. Like, this guy has absolutely no soul.
Your international law, which you don't seem to care so much about. I mean, by the way, if you want to go down that line of dismissing international law, then by all means, Russia invading Ukraine is just fine. And if China wants to take over part of the United States, that's also okay. Who's to say it's all disputed? I don't think that's a useful frame of reference.
Well, I don't think China invading countries or Russia invading countries is a lot different, because you have internationally recognized sovereign states with borders that even those countries have recognized are being invaded. That's a lot different than whatever the situation is right now in Israel and Palestine. When we say Israel stealing land from people, who did Israel steal land from? When you pointed back to Resolution 242, what is that referring to? Who do they steal land from?
Resolution 242 says that Israel taking over the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem violates international law because those are not part of Israel. At the time, the West Bank was under Jordanian control and Gaza was under Egyptian control.
Wait. No. They weren't under. They were part of those countries, right? They didn't belong to Palestine. Of course, Jordan literally made. Why do you think Jordan today is 2/3 Palestinians? They literally gave citizenship and made citizens every single person living in the West Bank.
No. You're confused. Jordan was not part of Jordan officially. Jordan right now. Well, Jordan is not
quietly and skillfully he just dismisses him without allowing him to blow up and get angry, which I think is actually a really sophisticated debate tactic here, because that's what Destiny wants in a moment like this. When you see Destiny and you've got him like this, that hamster wheel is spinning. You ever hang out around an old computer and then you get to like a high graphics sequence in your video game and it's like right, that's what Destiny's brain is doing right now. It's a and this guy is like, no, you're confused. And then that just makes Destiny go, oh. But he's being so polite to him. Destiny knows he would become appallingly like unhinged if he were to blow up, but he's got him. That's why he's doing this little thing. Like Destiny is melting down inside because this guy is eroding his entire argument. Anyway, you're right. This is a masterclass.
The West Bank is not part of Jordan. So when Israel was founded in 1948, they took over 78% of historic Palestine. The parts they did not take over were the West Bank and Gaza. And that's when those areas fell under Jordanian control. And
correct. Jordan annexed the West Bank. 1950. They literally annexed it. They gave citizenship. Yes, literally. They literally did. Yes. That's why it was called.
No. The impression that I'm under right now is that you want to debate semantics about all of this and refusing, again, insisting on getting into a level of weeds here that is designed specifically to miss the overarching picture.
Okay.
The overarching picture, again, for simplicity's sake, the entire world agrees that the West Bank is not part of Israel and Israel is obligated to withdraw from it. Israel entered a peace process in 1993 that is premised on withdrawing from the occupied territories.
No, they're not.
They did the opposite.
The Oslo permanent arrangements would be. I don't agree that anyone's getting lost in the weeds. I think it's really important to know the specifics.
No, I'm catching on to your style about this. I think you're less interested in the actual topic and more interested in winning an argument based on kind of like silly and manufactured points. It's quite transparently what is happening here.
Wait, what is? Don't you think it's important to understand like what Jordan's goal was when they invaded the West Bank, or what Egypt was doing when they invaded the Gaza Strip, rather than just screaming apartheid over and over again?
I think it's important to engage in good faith and to know what you're talking about and to not say things that you don't understand. I've watched that debate with Israel's foreign minister on more than one occasion. What he was saying is that the deal that was offered to Palestinians at the end of Camp David was a bad deal, and if he were Palestinian, he would not have accepted it. And
that's literally not what he said. If you watch the debate, and I watched that debate, it was literally hosted on Democracy Now!, and he's quoting his own book. And if you go back and read the book instead of just watching a YouTube video, you'll see the context of what was given. And what was given was that
we'll make that available. I'm glad you're saying that. I think we're going to be able to clip this up. I'm going to clip up that part of the debate. We'll put it up there with the quotes of the book, which I have sitting on my shelf. I'm happy to do all of this.
Okay. I hope they're your quotes and not quotes from a Finkelstein book about what the interview was.
No, don't worry. It'll be a clip of Shlomo Ben Ami speaking in his own words. I'm happy to put that together.
Mauled about Finkelstein, LOL.
Right. Yeah. So there was a clip that Hasan's about to react to. I think most people agree Destiny kind of got his ass handed to him there by Omar Baddar, and kind of just resorted to gish galloping when confronted by his obvious inescapable ignorance on the subject matter. I mean, that was just embarrassing. So here's Hasan, who doesn't frequently weigh in on the Destiny wars. Destiny loves taking shots at Hasan. He'll constantly go after him on stream and call him all kinds of crazy shit, say he's sympathizing with terrorists and stuff. Vosh has really taken a page out of that book, as you can probably tell. But anyway, here he finally addresses Destiny and really kind of breaks his silence on the direction that Destiny's gone in, on the end of their, relationship and friendship as two lefty streamers, and also kind of goes after Destiny here for his recent debate with Ben Shapiro, which Zach and I covered. We, surmised that Destiny did a decent job, that he kind of made a lot of good points against Ben Shapiro, specifically on the Biden versus Trump discussion. But interestingly, Hasan was not pleased with that debate performance, and he thinks that Destiny went totally easy on Ben Shapiro. So I'm interested in your opinion on that as well, Zach. Do you want to add anything before we get started?
Well, if he thinks that Destiny went easy on Ben Shapiro, he should take a look at Anna Kasparian's interview with Ben Shapiro. But yeah, I am happy to take a look at this, because obviously he could have harangued Ben Shapiro more. But I was just making the point that, he presented a lot of arguments that made Ben Shapiro look pretty dumb.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at this.
Palestine and Israel. And within just a few minutes of hearing him speak, I realized that Nathan Robinson's description of him as having sub-Wikipedia level knowledge on the issue was actually too generous of Nathan. And what's remarkable is that even though Destiny was clearly out of his depth, that did not shake his confidence one bit.
Oh, I mean, that's some real white guy right there. Let's be for real.
Projected authority by ridiculing the facts I was bringing up, even though he had absolutely no clue what he was talking about.
So to be clear, you're saying before that, you're saying that the Israeli official policy was to use human shields. It was codified in the military doctrine.
That is official
so
policy.
Crazy that they say that, yet the only image I've ever seen of the human shield is that one boy on the Jeep that gets posted 50 billion times.
That's really funny that he's saying that. I never watched this debate, but like, that's ridiculous that he's saying that. They literally have a consistent policy of in the West Bank utilizing Palestinians that they either sometimes dress up as IDF soldiers as recently as yesterday, or even in general, taking Palestinians in the West Bank and propping them in front of a death squad. They do it all the time. It is nonstop. It is like serialized at this point. But once again, the confidence is what matters in this circumstance, especially when a lot of people are unaware, when they're oblivious to the facts of the matter. If you're a confident guy, you're a confident white guy, okay, and you're like kind of rehashing a lot of the information that you get from New York Times, if you're summarizing things that like mainstream media is saying, a lot of people are going to look at that and go, yeah, I kind of agree with him. Now, the saddest part about this is that as someone who used to be friends with Destiny many years in the past, I remember him genuinely ripping into this kind of anti-intellectualism. He used to do this when he debated right-wing losers all the time. He used to make fun of them for consistently relying on their own personal anecdotes of watching YouTube videos. Like he would dunk on a lot of right-wing losers who regularly would just try to debate him on the facts of the matter. And instead of looking at actual empirical evidence or like well-documented evidence from human rights groups and Israeli human rights groups alongside like international ones and NGOs in general, they would just say, well, I've seen YouTube videos. And that's a really sad state of affairs as far as like, I don't know, becoming a worse.
It's kind of the exact same problem that we're seeing manifest itself in almost every facet of the internet, right? Like, oh, I'm going to do my own research, bro. And like, what is that research? It's just a confident person with like a large amount of bravado and like a decent production value on YouTube. Like, you know what I mean? Like this person says you actually shouldn't eat fruit anymore and that it's killing your body. And I don't know, they don't big pharma doesn't want you to know that because then you're not going to buy their big pharmaceuticals. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's like Destiny. It's like he's got enough bravado, he's got enough charisma. You know, he can cite enough mainstream sources that are massively skewed to the argument that he's making already, and then parrot them back quickly and efficiently, and then without missing a beat, deny the reality of some piece of evidence that he has absolutely no concept of the validity of, and then parrot it back to an audience that's already, you know, because of their, you know, parasocialized relationship with one another, they're already, you know, inclined to deem him the victor as long as he does what they want, which is for him to, you know, come out and rattle off a bunch of quick fire artillery information.
Debater in your old age, I think. Okay, that's what it is. You've become more comfortable. You have cultivated a cult-like fandom, and you no longer want to actually do the same kind of Wikipedia plus style research that you normally would do that would help you genuinely craft a better argument. A lot of people think that I'm saying this simply because Destiny no longer agrees with me, and that's why I'm like shitting on him, but I'm wrong. But the reality is that Wikipedia research is fine, but you need to still push it a little bit further. And even when you're doing Wikipedia research, you can still be clouded by your own emotions, and you can still be clouded by your own biases. And we know that he had already made up his mind without knowing anything about Palestine or Israel when he said, genocide is going to happen. I think that's probably the best solution. I'm just joking, but like whatever, right? That was the conclusion that he had arrived at before learning anything about Israel or Palestine. Now, since then, he has done a lot of Wikipedia research. Fine, and that's great. And I've said this even in the beginning that like Wikipedia can be good, right? And the Israel-Palestine situation is so clearly one-sided that anyone that reads enough Wikipedia will probably come to that conclusion unless they're incredibly biased. You don't even shit on him, only the bad takes he says, unlike what he does to you. Yes, there's a difference. I am not interested in the drama side of this. If I was, I would have talked about the many millions of different things that he has done since our separation. That was incredible Keemstar level drama in his own personal life. I don't give a shit about that. I care about the arguments that he's making.
Over and over again, but
Yeah.
okay.
But confidently dismissing facts doesn't change that they're true. Here is a BBC News article about how when the Israeli Supreme Court banned the Israeli military from using Palestinian civilians as human shields, the Israeli military establishment and the defense minister protested.
Why do you talk about him so much? That's very cute that you're trying to bait me into saying that this is a real thing. This is, I would say that this is not even good enough as far as a counter. It shows that this was definitely a streamlined process, considering that they even chose to ban it, but it's still from 2005.
That ban because it was useful for them as a matter of policy. And that practice continues even after the ban.
Yes.
Destiny also claimed
part is more
that
important.
Amnesty International had accused Hamas of using civilians as human shields in 2014. And
Do you
start
also
talking
acknowledge
about-
that they say that, for
and-
instance, like Hamas uses human
Yes.
shields?
Yes.
Amnesty International says
They-
that. Do they-
They do not. What human rights organizations accuse Hamas of, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, is the fact that they operate in civilian areas and hide in civilian areas which endanger civilians. They acknowledge that much. That is not the legal definition of human shield.
I've been watching you almost for 2 years and had to do my own research to find out who he is. Yes, I had a policy of never really talking about him, but in recent times, especially considering that he is like found himself in the midst of this like Israel-Palestine conversation, I can't help but obviously, especially when he's like debating Ben Shapiro and stuff. Well, not debating, agreeing with Ben Shapiro politely and things of that nature. Like there are going to be instances where I look at what he's doing. A lot of right-wingers do boost him quite a bit. Sometimes because they agree, other times because he dunks on them, but most of the time because they agree. It was legitimately a sad moment that I thought that the intellectual giant that this person is supposed to be, the debate lord of the liberal side, basically went and had a double suck session with Ben Shapiro. That was, in my opinion, one of the most disappointing things I have seen this person do. Okay? One of the most disappointing things. I mean, like having an entire cult-like fandom that has harassed me over the course of the past 5 years, constantly clipping me out of context, creating orbiter communities that also eat good off of the Hasan bad ripcord. All of that stuff is one thing. Okay? A lot of people do that. But the worst possible scenario is that, like, that is inexcusable. In my opinion, the most actively trying to deplatform me, that too, having chicken and waffles with Nazis, all this shit is whatever. But fucking agreeing, like coming across as agreeable.
And I think he must be referencing the Israel-Palestine section of that debate with Ben Shapiro, which we didn't react to on stream. The part of that debate we talked about on stream was when they were discussing Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And I thought that Destiny did a decent job just kind of, arguing the obvious, Donald Trump is more divisive than Joe Biden. Let's be honest about the facts here and stuff like that. But it is true that when it comes to Israel, he actually probably agrees more with someone like Ben Shapiro than with Hasan, which is totally crazy. And again, it's like, I don't really understand why Destiny feels like he needs to defend Israel so much, because like Joe Biden is the one overseeing all of this doesn't mean that it's a liberal position or a left-wing position at all to defend the government of Israel. In fact, a lot of Democrats, a lot of literal, Joe Biden supporting liberals will tell you that the most shameful thing going on right now is Joe Biden's support for Israel. A lot of them do not defend what's going on because it's the same policy that Trump has. It's a Trump policy. Trump moved the embassy to Jerusalem. Trump, made a lot of what's going on possible for Israel. So I don't necessarily understand at all why Destiny just decided to commit himself so vigorously to this position. But I mean, it might just be anti-Muslim racism. That's the obvious answer given how hard he went for Ukraine, but I don't know.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I only watched the maybe 4 minutes because I don't watch Destiny Ben Shapiro context. I thought that he did a good job of pointing to the fact that like Ben Shapiro's crazy if he thinks that, under any other circumstance, he would be arguing that the president, shouldn't be held accountable for this kind of a deal or whatever. But that's low-hanging fruit. I imagine they did suck each other off on Israel-Palestine. I don't need to hear that. And I imagine that's where a bulk of the animosity is coming from. But it's like, What do you expect from a liberal like Destiny?